Welcome to Brainstorm 9000.
You got a brain? Your brain wants to listen to this podcast.
So open your brain.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to the world of Brainstorm 9000. Today, finally, Hermés came down from Olympus. Hi, Hermés.
I was on a super vacation for a little bit. It was real popping.
So, how is Olympus?
Olympus pool party is very great. Very
Right.
good time, you know what I mean? Who's who? The gods up there. But back here now.
So, way back when we just started,
Mhm.
unbeknown to our listeners and the brains of the internet, you
Mhm.
and I recorded our very first episode. It was about ADHD and you meaning Hermés.
hmm
But then you kind of didn't like it, right?
Yeah.
So, and I said that it's not a good idea to start your introduction to the world of the internet from telling them that you have allegedly ADHD. So maybe today the time has come. Let's ask someone who knows everything. Hey Siri,
I'm here.
what is ADHD?
Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is a mental disorder of the neurodevelopmental type. Do you want me to keep reading?
Please do.
It is characterized by difficulty paying attention, excessive activity, and behavior without regards to consequences, which are otherwise not appropriate for a person's age. There are also often problems with regulation of emotions. The symptoms appear before a person is 12 years old, are present for more than 6 months, and cause problems in at least 2 settings.
Thank you, Siri.
That was wildly specific.
Yeah, she never says you're welcome, by the way.
Yeah, she's a very rude person.
You think?
Yeah.
It's not a person, actually. When you weren't here, I interviewed without you after I stopped crying.
How
Two
betrayal.
people, one of whom runs R&D, research and development for Walmart.
Mhm.
And he said that actually this thing is in a multitude of different computers and in the cloud, and it's very complex and stuff like that. So did it sound familiar to you, what she said?
It did. It made me think that I should start paying Siri for psychiatric help and just pay my phone bill and ask her, what's wrong with me.
Right.
Maybe she'll tell me about like a whole bunch of other things too that I
Yeah.
have off in my
Oh,
head.
we can try it in our next episode. It's a good idea. But when did you decide, or when were you told that you might have ADHD?
Funny story actually. So I was having a lot of trouble just focusing at work and
So
keeping my
not in middle school, not in high school.
No, pretty much when I was in school, I would just constantly get in trouble a lot all the time, but I never had.
What does it mean get in trouble? You were fighting, or you were skipping school, or what?
I mean, of course, I did all those things, but at the same time, just even like on a normal classroom basis, like basic things in terms of not paying attention during class,
Right.
talking a lot during class. I just never was a super hyper focused person in school.
But you
I
were
was always-
hyper.
I would say I was more so inattentive. Like
Right.
I was never actually hyper focused. If anything, I was super like head in the clouds, like floating around all the time. But school was always easy to me, so that never made a problem with me actually doing anything in school.
Wait a
Like,
second. Math was easy for you?
I despise math, but doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like math is part of the fake news with everything else. We're just like once you saw numbers and stuff, it's like that's what computers do. Like people don't do math. Computers do math. Is my personal religious belief on the math.
Okay.
So not counting math.
Right.
Math terrible. Yeah, terrible.
Physics.
Physics. That's so much math. That's like math junior. It's like sciences and math just had a baby and they throw all that info in your head.
Okay.
Actually, science is all math. I can't even lie.
So
I do like
chemistry?
physics though.
Chemistry?
Chemistry I was all right at.
Really?
I was all right at chemistry.
Biology?
Yeah. Biology is like where you actually see like interest spark in my eyes. Right. Talking about like, the world we live in, and like I want to learn about sea turtles and other dope crap like that.
Right. Too late. Now we live in the world of computers.
Yeah, everything's dying too because of climate change and everything like that. So I'm sure like we're getting all the animals out the way so we can build the cyborg versions of them and just throw them out. Like
that'd be fun. Yeah.
Google's working on it, I'm sure.
Yeah. So anyway, so back to you, human.
Yeah.
Earthling.
So I got through most of K through 12, no hitches. And then when I went to like college, I went to like college for an art-related major. I went to film school, so I didn't have to sit and write essays or do tests in math. Like, it was a very conservatory program
Right.
where like I just got to go outside and make movies and then show them in class. So that kind of workflow also just never made me like realize that I actually did have a problem sitting
Right.
and paying attention to like doing a task or anything like that.
Right.
But it was funny. So when I actually started working in real life and doing quote unquote adult stuff, like
Right.
having to pay bills or just sitting through jobs you don't want to do, whether it's a desk job when I'm just like in front of giant Excel spreadsheets, punching in numbers, or having a whole bunch of just remedial tasks and stuff like that. That's when I started to realize like my inability to keep focused during a task. Like I could be in the middle of typing a number and forget what I'm doing completely. Or yeah, when people start to like actually have me accountable for doing tasks around the office, I see it's like my job will be on the line or it'll be on the risk of being like, oh, if you do this mistake again, like, yeah, out of here type deal. But
Really?
even that
Right.
wasn't the motivation like I needed to get through this hurdle of I just can't focus long enough to finish any of my tasks.
Right.
And I remember one day, it was actually this girl I was dating at the time. What had happened? I think we were hanging out earlier in the day.
Right.
It was like the morning time. And I always told her like I had trouble paying attention. She was like, oh, baby, you have like ADHD or something. I'm
Right.
like, no, like I went through my whole life basically without anybody telling me that. So why would I ever think I have that? And we had left in the morning. She was like, okay, I'm gonna go hang out with my friends and then I'll see you later tonight. And I told her this list of things I was gonna do with it. I was like, I gotta clean my apartment, gotta go to Home Depot. I know I have to go online and send some emails and I have to take a shower. And I went home and it's something like when I have a list of things to do, like my mind is always has 4 voices going at once. Like
Right.
you need to start doing this. Like you need to get this running and send these emails right now. But you need to get to the store before it closes. But I don't want to take a shower too late. You have to do that too. And somehow like all these voices in my head like cancel each other out and I'm not able to focus on any one thing I'm supposed to do.
No, I'm laughing because it sounds funny, but it probably ain't funny at all for you.
I mean, it's just like normal life. And I'm like, oh, I'm always like that. I'm the worst. I go back and see this girl like
Right.
10 hours later.
Right.
Right. And it was a hot summer day. So I stink. I'm sweaty. I'm
Right.
gross. I'm disgusting. I'm supposed to
Right.
help her like put up a shelf or something. I go
Right.
back in her apartment to help her. And then she was like, yeah, like, and I think even I was supposed to go to Home Depot to get the tools to help her with the apartment. And I
Right.
forgot like half the tools I was supposed to bring and everything. She was
Right.
like, so you didn't get the tools. So what else did you do with your day? And I couldn't name one task on my whole list of tasks that I gave her that I finished in 10 hours of like a whole day going by.
Right.
And then she was like, I don't get it. Did you just do nothing then? And I'm like, no, I was like trying to do stuff, but like my brain couldn't even like keep track of like any particular task I was doing to say that I did anything to completion and I ended up not doing anything.
Right.
And it was then that I sat there and I was like, maybe I should go see somebody about
Right.
this because it just seems like I can't get tasks done unless I'm really super interested in them.
Right.
But if I am super interested in something, then I have no problem focusing at all.
Right.
You know
Which
what I
is
mean?
very common, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. But like almost it has to like touch my soul, like making music or talking with you, Dr. Shaw.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's what gets
Oh,
me.
yeah. I have to tell people, and I hope you don't mind if I tell them,
Yeah.
that I cannot recall. And you told me that I influence you because I put in your head that I don't expect you to be on time. But I can tell people honestly that in the entire duration of our relationship, recording this, you've never come on time exactly. The worst case scenario that I remember, you were an hour and a half late for a recording that I scheduled in a professional studio. Remember?
Yes.
So I'm guessing that this is your lifestyle, right?
Yeah. It's,
People know about it around you.
yeah. I feel like ever since I've actually gone to a psychiatrist about it and disclosed with
Right.
close friends and family members, they all have like the aha moment, like, oh, that's why you're like that. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like an instant click. Like no one asks you a question. They're like,
Right.
yeah, you do have that, but it's like you just never think about it
Right.
until it's kind of presented back to you as like, no, you've been diagnosed with this thing.
Right.
And it's like all these years of kind of dealing with that. Cause yeah, I'm always the person like late to everything, forgetful. Like if my mom wants me to do something, she'll tell me at least 5 times to do it. Because
Right.
she just knows me. She knows that like I'll just literally forget to do it no matter how important it is or not.
Right.
So yeah, I guess it is kind of like a lifestyle thing, but I've been trying to be better in recent years. I don't know if I'm have any success.
Oh yeah, tremendous. I mean, look, we are recording today.
We are sitting in the chair doing this right now. This is a
sitting in the
scheduled
chair,
thing that I
right,
made
right.
it to, yeah.
Let me ask you. So, looking back, how far back can you remember when you already had this kind of issue? When you are all over the place? Were you 4 years old, 5 years old? I don't know.
So I remember, you know how like your parents have parent-teacher conference and you
Yes.
hit the nightly prayer.
Oh, I went to those.
Yeah, and you like pray to God.
Right.
You're like, please, teacher, do not tell my parent all the terrible things I do in
Right.
school. So I hit my prayer and it like halfway worked. Where like I feel like all the bad things got tucked under the rug. Like, oh, you were like bad during playtime. We punish you at least 3 times a day. Like all that got swept under. But the one detail that my kindergarten teacher seemed to hone in on when she talked to my mom, she was like, your son, he doesn't do bad in school or anything, but he just daydreams a lot in class.
Right.
And you have to like personally call out his name to get him like back in the loop of whatever we're doing as a class.
Right.
Just so she notices that, like, as we go from activity to activity, it's like I'm almost like 3 steps behind because I'm just staring at the wall. And she said I just had like a blank stare to me, like I would just like be in a different space.
But in what space? Like how? Like where were you? Do you remember?
Oh, like in the classroom.
No. But in your head, where were you? Like where are you when you're not there? Anywhere?
I feel like it'd be anywhere. Like whether I'm like picturing SpongeBob SquarePants, like being Bikini Bottom for 6 hours a day, because screw being in school for 6 hours a day.
Really?
Or sometimes I look out on the playground and be like, oh, I should be out there. But I couldn't even remember one specific daydream I had. I just remember that the teacher always used to say that to me like all the time. Like I was always daydreaming like constantly.
Because what if actually you are a person who is able to get out of his body and travel and be somewhere else, observe what's going on, and then come right back?
You just call me the insidious kid?
No, like, maybe you can travel without your body. Like
astral project?
Yeah. I mean,
maybe
is it possible?
Maybe I do have those superpowers. But if that was the case, like I'd put myself in Miami right now,
right,
like on South Beach.
Right. But without a body, you need to remember that.
So can other people interact with me with this no body, or
listen? I'm just saying that since now we are aware of clouds, and we can transfer information, right? Like we can back up things, and so maybe your software is capable of getting out. And when we give you medication to keep you down, we are doing you a disservice, not a service. Maybe. Of course, I'm just kind of kidding here. But
I honestly feel like you're holding me back now at this point. I need to get off the pills and just perpetually daydream all the time.
Right.
Until I learn all the secrets in the world. Because I can spy on people at that point.
Well, but why would you want to spy on people?
I mean, I want to know like the secret Big Mac sauce that they've been like toting since the 80s. Like if I can break into McDonald's headquarters and get the secret recipe for that, I can open up like my own version of McDonald's, take over the world with my own.
Well, it's actually easier. Get hired to their chemistry lab, or just get hired to the headquarters where they make it, and steal all the components.
But we said that chemistry has too much math, bro. Math is like my kryptonite. You got to stay away from the math.
Right.
But
just for people who are not into Superman, kryptonite is a substance that does not make the Superman strong. It makes him weak, right?
Mm-hmm. Why don't you ask Siri? Siri could explain that better. She
about what?
About kryptonite.
All right. Hey, Siri.
Go ahead.
What is kryptonite?
Kryptonite is a fictional material that appears primarily in Superman stories. In its most well-known form, it is a green, crystalline material originating from Superman's homeworld of Krypton that emits a peculiar radiation that weakens Superman, but is generally harmless to humans when exposed to it in short term. Would you like to hear more?
No, thank you.
She is on it.
Right.
The official announcement, Dr. Streltz will be replaced by Siri on this podcast because she's the host of the century right now. She has all the facts.
Right.
She just needs to get her, small talk down.
And she needs to learn to speak with a Russian accent. But, Russians made a robot whose name is Fyodor, which is a very typical Russian name. Like
Fyodor?
Fyodor. You can't say it. It's like
It's an F and a T at the same time.
but it's your Fyodor. You probably sell it Fyodor or something like that. Yeah. So anyway,
Guys, the face of disgust Dr. Schultz just gave me.
right. So who knows? Maybe the kids who have ADHD all ate kryptonite.
Maybe you're holding all. We're like the special indigo children. You
Right.
hear about indigo children?
Yeah,
It's
of
like
course,
the
of
chosen future kids.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. We have superpowers and stuff, but you guys don't want us to win. So
Yeah.
okay.
Well,
I
want you to
seeing
win.
it. No, I'm leading the revolution.
Right.
It starts right here today.
Okay. So it sounds like you've had all these issues since you were very little. It's just they didn't interfere with your life much because you were a likable kid, right? Like weren't creating too much of a problem, right? Like not too much fighting or
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I got in trouble, of course, throughout school, just occasionally here and there. But for the most part, like I said, I was never super hyper. I was almost the opposite,
right.
where like I just be very like in my own head and like to my thoughts during class time at least. That's because I was just bored all the time. So
So you would be probably not surprised because we spoke about it already, you and I. But there are a few types of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So ADHD, attention, A, right?
Mhm.
Deficit, D,
Mhm.
hyperactivity, H, disorder, D. It can be predominantly hyperactive. Here we are talking about children running around like crazy.
mhm.
Predominantly inattentive, somebody like yourself, and combined, a combination of the two, which is frequent. So, like a lot of other people, you were not formally diagnosed until your college days, right?
Mhm.
Should we say in your first year? No, even after college, when you
Yeah, it was
no,
like,
after college,
it was
when you
right-
went to work,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, during my adult life.
So you kind of got by. Looking back, would it be helpful if somebody diagnosed you and treated you before? Would it give you any advantage? Your opinion.
I think no,
Uh-huh.
just because me on this medication now, like taking
Right.
Adderall now,
Right.
I feel like me in high school would just be way more irresponsible on Adderall all the time. Because it's like the first age where you're like going out. Like I think about the way that like I went out or go through my mom's like liquor cabinet
Right.
or like smoke weed for the first time, like all these things and like how irresponsibly I managed all of these things because I
Right.
was 16, 15.
Right.
Like I would throwing Adderall into that mix. I don't know. I just feel like it would just be like
Are
this.
you saying you would be more organized to do all these things? So would have done more damage?
Maybe, possibly. Like, I just know, like, when I take Adderall, like, I'm up for a whole full, like, 8 to 10 hours at a time. Whereas, like, when I don't take Adderall, like, my
Right.
sleep regulation is nonsensical. Like, I'll sleep for 4 hours in the middle of the day just naturally. Like, that's
Really?
just how my sleep cycle kind of goes.
Right.
So, yeah, it
Less
was good to
damage.
be a sleepy teenager when I was, like, going through my phase because it's just less damage could have been
Really?
done.
Right.
And being, like, alert and ready to go on,
Right.
like, a Friday. Nah, because then I'd be up all night, like just ready to party and do bad things. For me personally, I'm sure plenty of people would have helped, but
Right.
focused teenage me would have been bad for humanity, I think.
Let me ask you this question because I keep asking myself all the time, and of course I have an answer for myself, but I am curious what you think, and maybe the brains of the internet can relate to this.
Yeah.
What if you weren't a city dweller? Let's say you were raised on a farm.
Mhm.
Would it even matter that you have ADHD?
So I'm putting on my former Hermés pants.
Right.
All right. So
Or let's say you are an artist, and you are in France.
I like,
and-
I like
and-
being a farmer.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So would it matter?
It's funny that you say artist versus like farmer thing. I think with artists, well, I guess with everything in life, how you're saying I'm always late for everything all
Right.
the time. Everything works on a schedule. I know with farmers, they have like the window of this season happens and this
Right.
is when I like yield my crops.
Right.
You hear the city dweller in my voice as I'm trying to talk about farming because I
Right,
have no
right.
idea what I'm talking about.
Right, right.
But I know there's crops and you like
Right.
reap the harvest, and other
Right.
times you have to work really hard to get your harvest going or
Yes.
grow stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
However it works. Anyway, so if you're all disorganized, it's like it has to affect your livelihood if you don't have the organizational skills to know to plant your seeds by this date because your brain is wandering all the time.
Right.
But maybe being so understimulated on the farm in the middle of nowhere where maybe you only interact with family and a couple close friends,
Right.
maybe that slow pace of life is enough of adjustment to like offset any kind of attention deficit or hyperactivity thing going on. I don't know.
Like, what if you are a cowboy? That's actually good. You ride horses, right?
Mm-hmm. I guess a real like a cow. Are we talking a John Wayne cowboy? Like
Yes.
I'm shooting,
No,
shooting people down.
Not shooting
Because
people down.
I can use some Adderall for that too. You know what I mean? Go
No.
hunt
We are
some
talking about like a cowboy on a farm. Like,
So a real cowboy?
A cowboy.
Like, I don't have 2 revolvers sitting on me.
No, but
I'll stop.
like you have them, but they're fake. Okay?
But they're fake. Okay, so with the 2 revolvers,
Right.
and you're just hurting the cattle.
Right.
I mean, I guess in that situation.
Well, you go out, you let them out, and then you have to get them together by the end of the day after you played on your, instrument, whatever instrument they play. What do they play in, like farm boys? They play something.
They
the
play
field.
Instruments?
Like they play some kind of like a flute or something like that. Like in pictures, in all.
Is there like the Pied Piper or something?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
You're mixing the lore together. It's been for your opinion.
Right.
They probably played like banjos and stuff.
Because, there is a very big, you need to concentrate to play banjo. There is always a discussion along the lines of, look, maybe ADHD has always been there, but we didn't know how to diagnose it. Or maybe the conditions were such that it never came across as an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Another train of thought is that, no, it's just we have more people with ADHD nowadays, for the reason we don't completely understand. So which one would you tend to stick to?
I mean,
just intuitively.
Intuitively, I would definitely say it might have to do just the world we live in. Because even when you're asking the farm question, like my main basis of maybe the farm life is kind of doable with ADHD is because you're not constantly overstimulated. It's not like constantly everywhere you go, there's 50 million other people. You're not but I guess you still have a cell phone. Like, are you popping on Instagram in a farmer with like 10K followers?
No. You don't have the cell phone. You're on the farm.
Oh, so if I live like a nature rustic life, you're trying to say, that's what
no cell phone, nothing.
Yeah, like I feel like that might be half the causes of what distracts me personally on a daily basis.
The cell phone?
Yes, the fact that this thing constantly like chimes and pings and goes off.
Right.
It's something that seems like it's gonna change my life.
Right.
Even though it's the same 5 people talking to me or the same alert I'm getting from Gmail or something.
Right.
Even feeling the vibration gives me the sensation that like I need to break my whole train of thought right now to reach into my pocket. And if you take that factor out, what else is there? I mean, the trees blowed. Is that really that distracting? Like the sun coming up in the morning? Are you going to stop working to be like, oh my God, the sun is rising?
Right.
That'd be probably a beautiful thing.
Right.
But I'm not sure it would actually distract me in any kind of way, the way that like technology distracts me. But I don't know.
So are you saying that actually in our technological age, people are kind of triggered to have more ADHD? That's what you're saying?
It would seem like it.
Right. So we have more of it, period.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people who have ADHD?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I do know a good amount of people. Actually,
let's try whether Siri knows a word of prevalence. Hey, Siri.
Yes?
What is the prevalence of ADHD in the United States?
Siri
Shut up. That didn't say
Siri
anything.
gave up.
Hey, Siri.
I'm here.
What is the prevalence of ADHD in the United States?
Okay, I found this on the web for what is the prevalence of ADHD in the United States. Check it out.
Could you read it? Read it.
She also gave up once again.
Yeah.
Siri's in a mood today.
Not in a good mood. Yeah.
You gotta treat her right, bro. Next episode.
Hey, Siri. Hey, Siri.
Go ahead.
What is the prevalence of ADHD in the United States?
Okay, I found this on the web for what is the prevalence of ADHD in the United States. Check it out.
The next episode, Dr.
The
Schultz is
next
taking
episode
Siri
is, yeah.
on a makeup dinner date. for
Right.
all
So
the stress.
it's actually 6.4 million American children ages 4 to 17 have been diagnosed with ADHD.
It's a good amount.
It most frequently occurs in children. The average age is 7 when they get diagnosed. 6.1% of American children are being treated for ADHD. 42% increase in ADHD diagnosis over the past 8 years. 42% increase. I don't know why Siri decided not to read it. Maybe Siri has ADHD.
Maybe.
Hey, Siri.
I'm here.
Do you have ADHD?
I don't have an answer for that.
So
Siri
anyway.
doesn't have all the answers
Right.
after all, yeah.
So, there is this magic thing. It's called DSM, Diagnostics Statistic Manual. Now it's 5, the 5th one. Maybe you could read to us the criteria. You have it in front of you.
I do.
You made a copy.
I do.
Siri does not participate.
This is Siri 2.0 over here.
Right.
Siri can't do this. So we have a diagnostic criteria over here. So
Right.
it's ADHD is defined by a persistent pattern of inattention and or hyperactivity, impulsivity that interferes with functioning or development as characterized by 1 and or 2. So under number 1 here, we have inattention. 6 or more of the following symptoms have persisted for at least 6 months to a degree that is inconsistent with developmental level and that negatively impacts directly on social and academic/occupational activities.
Right. So it means that you don't act according. You can't explain it away because you are too young, right?
Mhm.
And you can definitely see that whatever you are doing in school
Mhm.
is a problem.
Mhm.
Okay. So what are these criteria?
So A is often fails to give close attention to details or makes careless mistakes in schoolwork, at work, or during other activities.
So this is a mark for you. We can.
Yeah, it's sounding kind of familiar.
Okay.
Often has difficulty sustaining attention in task or play activities.
So that's also you.
As a grown man, play
Right.
activities are way more
No,
fun.
no. Before.
But yeah, as a
Right.
child, definitely.
Okay.
Often does not seem to listen when spoken to directly.
Well, you just told us the story.
Often does not follow through on instructions and fails to finish schoolwork, chores, or duties in the
No
workplace.
kidding. 10 hours of not following through. So check. Right.
Yeah. Often has difficulty organizing tasks and activities.
Check.
Often avoids, dislikes, or is reluctant to engage in tasks that require sustained mental effort.
Speaking about math and physics and chemistry. Okay.
Yes. Those are evil efforts, though.
Yeah,
It
right.
doesn't,
They're evil.
it doesn't
Yeah, we don't
describe
like
it
that.
here, but that's just one
that's evil.
situation.
Yeah, but now I understand. Yeah.
Then often loses things necessary for tasks or activities.
Do you? Do we? Yeah.
I was putting up a shelf and I think I forgot the hammer the day I decided that
Seriously?
I might have ADHD or something. Is often easily distracted by extraneous stimuli. Yeah. But
Right.
I blame Siri and the Apple people for
Right.
Yeah, it's
Well, but there is also Cortana, right? And then what's the name of the thing from Samsung?
Android people are evil. So
Then there is Google Now, which I'm going to look into. I just learned about it today.
Google Now?
Yeah, it's
They're
called
doing
Google
their
Now.
own.
They have their own assistant. Yeah. Anyway,
Don't even get me started on Alexa,
Right.
bro. We're not on speaking.
what
terms.
else is there?
It's a breakup with Alexa.
Right.
2 months ago. And then is often forgetful in daily activities. Which
Well, check.
sounds like a super
So you met all the
biography
criteria.
of
Yeah.
Classic Hermés right there is what I just read to you guys.
Hermès, yes.
Yeah. Yes. Put the accent in there.
Hermès, bonjour. Comment ça va?
Ça va bien?
See, so you speak French?
No.
No?
No.
No.
Je fais
Oh
semblant.
la la. All right, so keep going. There is more there.
Okay, now we're on number 2, which
Right.
is hyperactivity and impulsivity.
Right.
So 6 or more of the following symptoms have persisted for at least 6 months to a degree that is inconsistent with developmental level and that negatively impacts directly on social and academic/occupational activities.
Right.
Okay, so A here is often fidgets with or taps hands or feet or squirms in seat.
Did you used to be like that?
I'm like that now, to be rude.
Well, I'm looking at you. Actually, you're not. But okay, if you say so.
I was
Okay.
recording somebody at the studio today,
Right.
and I was just thinking in my head, like, how many times I stretch while
Right.
recording somebody. Like, guys, at home, I'm 6'4".
Right.
My arms are like the length of most people's legs.
Right.
And imagine like Mr. Elastic, Mr. Fantastic, actually,
Right.
the elastic guy, just stretching his hands across like a 3-foot studio, like a small box. Like every 5 seconds while you're trying to record something, you look over, you're looking at the guy at the engineer desk, he's like stretching. I'm just like trying to stay awake. But really, I realize how much like I fidget when I do everything. Like I always have some kind of tick or something.
You would actually make a very good swimmer. You know that, right? Because you are tall, you have a very wide span of your arms. You are way too skinny for a swimmer, but that's probably because you didn't do it professionally. You would be as good as Phelps, probably.
As good as Phelps?
Probably better.
Oh, I'm coming for Phelps, bro.
All right. What's next?
Here, bro.
What's next?
So often leaves seat in situations when remaining seated is expected.
You used to do that?
Nah, I'm pretty lazy, so I'll probably stay in my seat most of the time.
Okay.
Often runs about or climbs in situations where it is inappropriate.
Did you used to do that?
Mm-mm.
No. Okay. So you're not hyperactive.
Nah, not too much.
Right.
Is often on the go, acting as if driven by a motor.
Also not you.
Also not me.
Okay.
I look like a dying cell phone, like with 3% left, where it tells you every second, like it's dying. Like that's my like facial expression most times. Like you can see how much I'm dying.
Right.
So yeah, very much not driven by a motor.
Right.
Often talks excessively. Sometimes I talk a lot, maybe, but not really. Right?
No.
Often blurts out an answer before a question has been completed.
That describes almost 99% of Russians. I know, myself included.
Yeah, that sounds like a people thing, generally.
Yeah, no, people from Eastern Europe have a tendency to do that.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like even living in New York, like with New Yorkers, you just don't speak fast enough for them.
Right.
You know, like they're just like, no, get on with it already. So
Right,
they're like
right,
finishing
right.
your sentences and stuff. So yeah, that might be a New York ADHD citywide problem. Often has difficulty waiting his or her turn.
Well, in New York, it's always the case.
Yeah. I have a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And often interrupts or intrudes on others, butts into conversations and stuff like that.
Do you do that? I don't think so.
No.
You are too polite.
Uh,
You're a nice guy.
I like, you gotta listen. You know what I mean? You gotta peep what people are saying to you before you respond.
Right.
Yes. So from there are.
No, I wouldn't worry about it. It gets too complicated. So
it's just a whole bunch of qualifying stuff.
Right. So I can tell you that, of course, everybody understands by now. You fit perfectly well description of ADHD non-attentive type, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you find that medication took away all your issues or no?
It definitely didn't take away all my issues, but it definitely makes like working on tasks that I'm not interested in way easier.
Right.
Like just that specific narrow subsection of life that I think takes up most of our adult lives is just doing shit we don't want to do. Because think about like the amount of things that you just have to do. You have to make sure, I don't know, when it's tax season, you make sure your taxes are paid. Sometimes if you have a home and you have to make sure you pay your mortgage.
Right.
But then other people who are like way past my level of maturity and adulthood are like getting other humans to come cut their grass on a scheduled manner.
Yes.
Like something as basic as that, like sounds like the most undoable task to me. Like, I have to call 5 different landscapers, compare prices, and get them to come once a week and like stay on top of them. But I feel that with medication, it's not the only way to do it, but things like tasks like that I would never even see myself doing in some kind of way.
Right.
All of a sudden, it's like you take an Adderall and your head goes quiet. And there's normally like 5 voices going at once. But then all of a sudden you have like one voice at a time telling you, oh, well, if you need to do this task, you can just do this task. in 10 minutes rather than over 2 hours while like multitasking, doing 5 other things. It's like, no, sit down, do it, be done with it, and then move on.
So you hear voices?
Yes. This is the second time you're trying to make me feel crazy.
No. I'm just seriously asking you because I've never heard anybody with ADHD to tell me that they have different voices in their head.
Yeah, it's not like Sally and
Right.
Martha over
It's
here.
still your thoughts, right?
No, yeah, it's me.
Right.
It's me.
Right.
It's not the other voices. They do other things, but they're not the ones distracting me. The ones distracting me are my own voices.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like having just double you,
Right.
like you hearing 2 of yourself at the same time,
Right.
and by result, not hearing any of yourself because you keep hearing 2 voices going at the same time,
Oh.
and you
I
can't
see.
listen to 2 things at the same time.
All right. So is there anything else we didn't discuss that you would like to tell me and the brains of the internet about your experience with ADHD, or that's pretty much it?
I mean, that's pretty much it. I'm so far from an expert that it's like I can't give real advice to anybody.
Well,
but
you are actually the expert because you are living through it.
Thank you for stroking my ego. Just
No,
I'm
but
a super
seriously, like
expert.
nobody knows better than you. I can tell you that I went to a number of psychiatric conferences where different companies that make medications for ADHD try to engage physicians into prescribing their particular thing, right? So they invite us to experience how a person with ADHD feels. And they usually put you in front of the computer and try to kind of like blur your word. And then they show how it changes when you take the medication. But I don't have ADHD. So no matter what they do to me, and it's kind of like virtual reality, it's like, it's so not doing it for me. Because it's fake. A conversation with you right now is doing significantly more because you are talking from your own experience from the inside. So what do you know about treatment? Like, what is your idea? How can we treat ADHD?
How can we
Yeah.
treat it? I find that meditation helps a lot.
Meditation.
Yeah. It's also not like the same way just being on medication is not the one-way fix. It's
Right.
meditation is not the one-way fix either.
Right.
But I find the balance between the two, like learning to just sit still and let your thoughts just come and go and not fixate on any particular thing, is really useful when I am constantly being distracted.
Right.
And it's almost like a muscle, exercising, going to the gym.
Right.
When I'm like in the habit of doing that and being mindful every day and having periods of meditation every day, it's something like I can snap more easily into a state where I'm just paying attention.
So it sticks with you, meaning
Yeah.
you are not distracted only when you meditate. You are not distracted for the rest of the day.
Yeah, it's not that I'm automatically not distracted. I can get distracted later on and then
Right.
be like, okay, I'm thinking about way too much at once.
Right.
And then kind of like start to do like a baby meditation, whether I'm sitting at my desk at work or anything like that.
Right.
And just, it makes everything slow down a little bit, kind of in the way.
But then it distracts you from doing what you are supposed to be doing. Huh? While you are meditating, you can't work.
Well, I'm not going like full lotus position or
Right.
like, doing some magical stance,
Right.
Yoga posture thing
Right.
at my desk. So it doesn't, what I do more so is just kind of completely in my head, like learn to stop thinking about everything. And once you can like reset, it's almost like a refresh button.
Right.
When I go back to doing my task, my
Oh, I
brain is
see.
just way quieter, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. What else do you think? can be helpful?
Just like, don't be too hard on yourself, to be real with you. Cause like, I wish I have found some kind of solution to actually just be like, oh, there's not a thing anymore. Like, I don't have problems with my attention anymore. Like, no matter how much Adderall I take or how much I meditate, like the Adderall wears off after a while. As you're
Right.
saying with the meditation, like I can't actually do that in every practical situation.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Stop everything I'm doing and
Right.
just sit and think. You know what I
Right.
mean? Life has to keep going on. So it's really just about anticipating how long it does take me to do things, and that like I am different from everybody else in this way of how my brain works. So maybe something that takes like a normal person an hour to do takes me an hour and a half, takes me 2 hours. Just
You
'cause
are normal.
Yeah. Nah, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not using normal in the way to like be like
Right.
I'm strange, but you understand that I am different. So I feel like a lot of the stress that might come with having a disorder like something like this, going into adult life, is like feeling incompetent. I think that
Right.
was the biggest thing weighing on me before. It's like just feeling like I wasn't a competent adult person,
Right.
because of my inability to do all these things. But I feel like when you anticipate these things, you create almost a safety net for yourself where you don't stress yourself
Right.
out as much. Like if you know it takes you longer to get this done,
Right.
then a lot more time for it. If you
Right.
know you have to pay these bills at this time every week, if you know you have to do that terrible thing at work, like crunch the numbers in a spreadsheet for your boss because he's
Right.
going to bother you about it, put the time to your side, set reminders, use the smartphone for smartphone stuff.
Right.
Like all these things are like the little, I guess, bit by bit pieces that I feel like go way further than a lot of people think. I feel like a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to take this pill and everything's magically going to get better, but you still
Right.
have to work on yourself. So I think that's my biggest piece of advice I could give. It's like there's not going to be just one solution. Like you have to be actively involved in just planning for it, I guess, in some kind of way.
So,
Or not. I don't know.
Hermès, in your godlike wisdom, would you like to ask me about different ways that it can be treated?
Yeah. What I guess because I've heard a lot about just the different types of pills and stuff
Right.
that you give people. Going into diagnosing somebody with ADHD, is there just one type of drug you generally lead off with, and you're like, well, if you don't like this, then here's the alternatives?
It's actually more complicated than this. So to diagnose, first of all, it's a very diagnosable thing.
Yeah.
Let's call it an illness because I cannot come up with a better disorder, right? It's politically correct way to say it. There's no law of the land that requires people to get tested, but actually it's a good idea for parents to test a young child. For that, you bring them for neuropsychological testing to a neuropsychologist. It's a PhD of psychology who specializes in testing people for different things. They will talk to the child, if it's a child, and the family for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, give or take. And then they administer a number of tests. Some are by hand on a piece of paper. Some are computerized. The most famous computerized tests are Connors and TOVA. So Connors is the name of an actual psychologist from the United States, and it's been computerized. And TOVA is very simple. T, test, O, of, V, variability, of attention, A, TOVA. They're very, very similar and very boring. And then the neuropsychologist processes this data and can come up with a pretty good idea of whether or not a person has ADHD or not. Another way to diagnose ADHD is to have quantitative EEG done, and if people are interested, that they can go on a very small YouTube channel that I have. It's called Brain Tech 9000, so it's easy. This is Brainstorm 9000. The other one is Brain Tech 9000, and we have an episode there about quantitative EEG and neurobiofeedback. So on quantitative EEG, a computer processes the electric activity of the brain, sends it through the cloud to somebody who analyzes it against normals. And then you can see in color whether or not a person has ADHD. There is a very typical picture, actually. This is not all required. Some people choose to have a simple questionnaire to be answered, sometimes talk to teachers or get reports from the teacher and diagnose a person with ADHD. I personally deal mostly with adults, and I prefer to test them because a lot of things can mask themselves and pretend they're ADHD. Like, for example, if somebody is extremely anxious, they also cannot concentrate. Like, I don't know, are you afraid of anything or anybody? Dentists, snakes, I don't know.
Nah, besides my mom when she's mad.
Okay, so let's say that your mom is mad, and all of a sudden somebody calls you and says, look, how much is 155 times 1,200? You'll say, I'm not in a state to do it. Call me in about 3 hours, right? Because you're so, you know what I mean. So treatment also is not necessarily conventional medication only. So conventional medications fall in two major categories. Stimulants, everybody knows about Ritalin and Adderall. Ritalin also comes in extended form, Concerta, and Adderall can be Adderall XR, so extended release. And there is Vyvanse, which is kind of like decaffeinated Adderall, you can say. And then there are different subtypes of stimulants. And there is one non-stimulant medication, Strattera, which in some people is very effective. These medications are not dangerous, and tons of research has been done, but different people have different sensitivities. And I guess in one of the podcasts, I already told the story about a guy who was considered to be almost like a local idiot in the second or the third grade. And then I gave him Ritalin, and his life changed like almost overnight. And I had cases like that when I practice homeopathy mostly. So natural things like homeopathy, which is a very controversial and highly questioned by authorities method of treatment, natural treatment, and people can read about it. I published 2 books on homeopathy. So if you go on Amazon and punch in Edward Charles, there's going to be a book which is called The American Institute of Homeopathy Handbook for Parents, or you can read a book which is called Ritalin Free Kids. It's not written by me. It talks about homeopathy. The method that I use in my practice, which is extremely effective, is neurobiofeedback. Again, you can take a look at the video on a very small YouTube channel, which has like 2 or 3 videos only by now, because it's expensive to make them. And I have to produce them, and whatever.
More on the way.
Right, but we are more on the way, maybe. But there is an episode about quantitative EEG and neurobiofeedback. Neurobiofeedback, basically a computer retrains the brain to do what it's supposed to do, and the results stay with you. People also talk a lot about eating right, taking supplements. Look, it's maybe a good idea. I'm not sure, actually, but there is no single supplement or 10 supplements that are going to fix your brain. And you can eat, you can be on paleo diet, you can be on keto diet, you can be on any kind of diet. I don't think that's going to resolve your issues, but you're welcome to try. I think that the main question that people should ask themselves is what is important for them. Because a lot of people, especially who do work similar to what you do, they are creative, would tell you that when they take Adderall, yes, they can stay on task better, but their creativity goes down. I don't know whether you've experienced it or not. Have you?
Nah, I've not experienced that.
Right.
Yeah,
but some people complain about it. So the question is, to me, the question is not whether you need to take medication or not, because we are surrounded by chemicals and we are polluted. And I'm not suggesting we add to pollution, right, by taking more garbage inside. But to me, the main question has always been, what do I need to do to stay happy? So whatever makes you happy, for as long as it doesn't cause harm to other people, you should do, right? So if you said, Hermés, that you entered your adulthood having a feeling that you are not competent enough, and then you started taking medication, and it's better, so it's good, right?
Yeah, it's definitely good.
Right. So that's all I have to say. Do you have anything to add or any questions?
The creativity thing, where people say they were less creative, because that's just so mind-blowing to me, because I do a lot of music work and everything on Adderall all the time.
Right.
So
some people say it's worse, some people don't. But I never met Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder, I don't know. He probably doesn't have ADHD. So if Stevie Wonder told me that he cannot write music when he takes Adderall, I would have believed him. But I never met the Stevie Wonders of the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
I never met any artists of that level.
Mm-hmm.
But, people who are not famous, but who do some creative work, sometimes complain to me that not the writers. I actually met quite a few who, when they enter the period of editing, right, they do take stimulants so they can super concentrate and edit better because there is a deadline. I don't recommend it. I think that it's probably not such a hot idea, but also when we all know that when people cram for tests in colleges, they buy Adderall, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, biggest advice actually,
right,
to ADHD people. Yeah, Adderall, it's like, it almost sounds stupid to say out loud, but when you're taking it, it's like, it doesn't make you smarter. It doesn't actually improve your performance on anything. You don't suddenly know things that you didn't know before. Right. It's not actually limitless. Yet don't take pills that think you're just better at something, or that the quality of your work is just so superior. Like, oh, I'm going to get all these things done. It's going to be great.
Right.
Because so many times I've done things like on Adderall, like in this super focused state. Right. And you go back over things you've done and you're like, what? Where was my brain at? And like, you might have gotten it done, quote unquote. But like, there's mad errors. Like whether you're checking it, I've like checked over things I've written like emails I've written that have been like long, drawn out emails that are basically like essays.
Right.
And you write it, you go back and you're like double checking and everything. You're like, oh yeah, that looks fine. That looks great.
Right.
You send it, and then like there's whole grammatically like wrong
Right.
parts of the sentence. I think I used whom, trying to sound fancy, like I was educated
Right.
in a way that made no sense. You know what I mean? Like, whom thinks you can hire me for this job? Like, no, you're not gonna get the job now, bro. Hey, you just chill out.
Right.
So like, yeah, don't over depend on Adderall like it's some kind of steroid for your
Right.
brain. No, it's still you
Right.
and your normal self. with
But
your
you can
normal thoughts.
concentrate.
You can
Yes.
just focus. Yeah.
Actually, I can't even tell you how many people who have a bona fide diagnosis of ADHD actually say that it was easy for them to go to school and even college because they are very gifted. So they compensate for ADHD for a very long time. Only tedious jobs that require, as you call it, hyperconcentration, then bring out, like in your case, very frequently. Or when you are finally living in your adulthood, right, and you have a relationship and you were supposed to like have things done
Mm-hmm.
and you don't do them, then it becomes an issue, right? So do we have anything positive to say before we end?
Positive. Yeah, life is beautiful, everybody. It's super beautiful. Don't
Yes,
forget to,
even if you have ADHD.
yes. And that you should pay attention to.
Yes, on this positive note, I'm going to say my favorite phrase: keep your brains wide open.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Brainstorm 9000. If you like us, love us, or marginally tolerate us,
And definitely, if you hate us,
then go on social media and give us a review on Stitcher, iTunes, or YouTube, or wherever you listen to us.
and remember, keep your brains open.